Happy Thanksgiving! What would Thanksgiving be without Dolmathes? At least that's what I thought until my first year of college, when I discovered that only the Greek Americans make Dolmathes for Thanksgiving. So, to make Dolmathes, you need a jar of grape leaves. This is a pint size, and these are packed in brine. So they're pretty salty. So the first thing you need to do is open the jar and pull the leaves out. They come in rolls. And it's kind of tricky because you don't want to do that. You don't want to tear the leaves, and sometimes they're packed in really tight. Sometimes they're easier to get out. Now, we have a grapevine, and Mom did try doing her own leaves once. If you work with your own leaves, you want to make sure that they're the tender spring leaves, the small ones, not the old used leaves. Now, use a colander and unroll the leaves. And as you're unrolling the leaves, drape them over the edge of the colander to drain. What we're trying to do is we're going to get the salt, the brine, off of the leaves, because otherwise the Dolmathes will be really salty and bitter. Now, if you get any leaves that are really damaged or are real big, save a couple of those for the bottom of your pot. These leaves are pretty good. Now here's a big, kind of one on the bigger side. I think the Armenians like the big ones. The Greeks like the small ones. So I'm just going to go through and get these all drained. Meanwhile, while you're doing this, start boiling some water. Oh, here's a good one for the bottom of the pot. So you just put that in the bottom of the pot. And the purpose of this is they will keep the Dolmathes rolls from sticking. Oh, here's another good one for the bottom. Must have been where I pulled them off. That's a nice, it's a big one. The thing with the Dolmathes is that it's not really hard to make, really. It just takes time. Here's another.
Two small ones.
Two small ones?
Big leaf?
Not really, because of the way you roll them up. Now, the recipe I have, pay attention to the size of the recipe, whether it says for a pint or a quart. My recipe is actually for a quart of leaves, and I'm just making a pint. The stuffing in the Dolmathes is basically onion, rice, and dill. That's what you have to have in the inside. Other things you can add to it, parsley is really good. Oh, there's another good one for the bottom. Parsley's really good. So is my sister would put in just a dash of cinnamon. Gives a different flavor, and the family had various thoughts about that. I'm getting to all those ones that I tore up. That's just pretty bad. I'll put those down there.
Put two of them together, maybe you can get a
Something strange.
something like a Dolmathes.
Yeah. Usually, this one was all rolled up in one big roll. Usually they're like several rolls. I guess it depends on the brand. As far as where to find your grape leaves, we had to go to several stores before we found them. We ended up getting them at a place called Market of Choice, which is sort of a more upscale grocery store. And but I remember I used to be able to get them at Safeway. You find them either where the pickled things are in the store, or sometimes if they have an international food section. I think the Safeway, it will depend on the neighborhood. We live in kind of a redneck area, so there's no grape leaves at the grocery stores. Not too many Greeks here, or Armenians. These are coming apart pretty well.
Probably good. And closer to downtown Portland, you get more diversity.
Yeah, and I think the west side in Portland.
Yeah.
If you live someplace like Hawaii, Sonia, I'm not sure where you would go. Maybe you can order them.
Yeah.
Maybe they have them, or more likely you could find somebody with a grapevine and get your own leaves.
Yeah, I saw you just stack them up, roll them into little bindles with twine, and then blanch them just briefly, and then let them sit, and then you put them in a Ziploc and freeze them.
Okay, so the next step would be to pour boiling water over the leaves, which I have already done here. The boiling water is to help get the salt off the leaves. Then take a leaf and put it down on your working surface. It can be a cutting board or a plate. And you want the leaf in this direction so the point is pointing towards you. It has a tough stem, so you want to get rid of that, and you can just pinch that off. My mom would make a big deal about taking a knife, but just pinch it off. Take some stuffing. Now the trick here is you want to end up with the equal amounts of stuffing and leaves, but you don't want to overstuff the leaves because the rice does expand and they can kind of explode if you get too much. Not explode, but come apart. Okay, here I am. I was folding them over without saying anything. When you get to this part, you kind of pinch by pushing the filling this way and then roll. That step is important to help get the roll in looking nice. So then you put it in the bowl, the pan, and you can see several there I have already done.
Make another one.
Okay, I have a few more to go. Pinch off the stem, get the stuffing. Oh, on the stuffing, if you really want, you could put pine nuts in there. Yum, yum, yum. Except they might get soggy.
What about cinnamon?
My sister would put cinnamon in it, but I'm not a fan of that. Okay, first fold down the top, then fold over the sides. Okay, and then remember that kind of pinching, and then roll. If you have things like this, you can just fold that over too. Isn't that pretty? Okay, another one for the pot. Now, this is where kids come in handy. You say, don't you want to learn how to make Dolmathes? And you get them helping you with this stage of rolling them. And that's how I learned. You're passing the tradition down, plus you get it done a lot faster when you have more hands doing this. Fold down, fold the sides over, pinch, and roll. Unfortunately, we're empty nesters now, so I have to do this all by myself, unless I can get Wade to help me, but he's busy doing other stuff for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So, we'll see you in a little bit. I forgot to show you something here. The leaves, there are two sides. This is the back side, and this is the front side. And if you notice the veins, the major veins here, they're smoother on the front than on the back. And the stem tends to be kind of like on the back. So you want it, put the front side down. So when you're rolling the Dolmathes, the heavy veins are on the inside. And this is mostly just for looks. It looks a whole lot better to not have these heavy veins out. You can see when you start going for the second layer, the second layer goes in the opposite direction of the bottom layer, and that helps them from sticking to each other, and turns out pretty good that way. I also want to share with you something very special. This is cookbook, A Taste of Greece by my sister, and this book is available through, I forgot it's online. It's one of those, it's Blurb Books, and all proceeds goes to a cancer center that's in the Bay Area in California. And my sister was a great cook, and here's her Dolmathes.
There's the cinnamon.
Yeah, there's the cinnamon. And she has optional of currants, but I don't think she ever did that. I know she did put in mint and parsley. And she uses lots of lemon. And the lemon is at the end. I'll show you that. But there's a lovely plate. Well, all the grape leaves have been rolled up. And you can see I ended up with 2 layers. And now what you want to do is get a heavy plate to put on top. Now if you don't put a heavy plate on top, what happens, because these are going to boil, they'll unroll. My mom had a really nice heavy plate that was like an old restaurant plate. I think it was from my grandfather's restaurant, and that worked really well. But this will work good. So you make sure that it fits, put it in, and then you pour the water in. And the water you want should cover. So I think I need a little more. Make sure your plate's not plastic. It should be a ceramic plate. There we go. And you put this onto the stove and cover it, and we cook it until done, or basically when the water is gone, just like you cook rice. And that's it. Well, I think it's about time to check it out. So let's see how it looks. As you can see, the water has been reduced. Now the best way to get a plate out, stick a fork in there and use a pad, lift it up, and you can see the rice is done. There's always going to be some rice that is sticking out. So there we have it. All we need to do then, let them cool, arrange it on a plate, and take the juice of a lemon, squeeze it over the dolmathes, and it's all done. So enjoy.